The SteelSeries Rival 3 and Razer Viper Mini are two very similar budget gaming mice. The SteelSeries Rival 3 is just $30, whereas the Viper Mini is $40, but they do have some other key differences which set them apart. If you find this video helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you guys subscribe to the channel. It'd really help me out, but obviously you've got to watch it first, and I'm going to do my best to tell you which budget gaming mouse you should buy. So guys, let's get into this. The shape of these mice are very similar. They're both absolutely tiny as well, which is something to consider if you have large hands. I know some people with large hands are fine with a small mouse and some really are not. So the Razer Viper Mini is slightly smaller. It's 2.3mm shorter at 118.3mm and it's 13.5mm thinner, making it just 53.5mm thin. Their height is almost identical, and so is the shape with the way they curve and things like that. Both SteelSeries and Razer recommend these mice for claw and fingertip grips only and say they're not for palm grip, and this is absolutely true. If you're a palm user, I'd suggest going elsewhere. I mean, if you have really small hands, you can get away with palming these mice quite comfortably, but obviously even the manufacturers are saying these aren't recommended for it. If you're a claw or fingertip user, then these mice are great, and I can't really distinguish which one is better than the other for either of those grips, since they're both really small and very similar in shape. The weight of these mice is what really sets them apart. So the Rival 3 is 77 grams, which is fairly light, don't get me wrong, but the Razer Viper Mini is advertised as an ultralight gaming mouse with a weight of just 61 grams, and I think you really do notice that 16 grams less. It makes it feel so much more agile and nice to use with low sensitivities. So if you do like a light gaming mouse, which you probably do if you're buying either one of these, then the Razer Viper Mini really makes it win in this category. And to be honest, it's the reason I prefer the Viper Mini out of these two mice, because that lightweight just sets them worlds apart in my opinion. Both sensors have a DPI of up to 8500, which should be more than enough for most people. The sensors also felt very similar. They are both precise, accurate and responsive, and in games I couldn't say either sensor was better, apart from maybe the lift-off distance. The lift-off distance was poor on both mice in my experience. So the Rival 3 tracked up to a height of about 8 or 9 playing cards, which was a bit too high and meant you felt a bit of cursor jiggle. The Razer Viper Mini isn't much better, tracking up to a height of 7 playing cards. However, somehow I did feel less cursor jiggle when moving the mouse. I don't know whether this is down to the low weight making it easier to move, or something else making the sensor just that little bit better. So I'm going to have to say the Razer Viper Mini has the better sensor, but only by a slight edge. For the primary mouse clicks on these mice, I think they're both really good. In my individual reviews, they are strong points of the mice, and I can't set either one apart here. For a little bit of comparison, because I know some people are interested, here's a sound test of the clicks on the Rival 3. So here's the left click, and the right click. And then on the Razer Viper Mini, here's the left click, and the right click. So like I said, once again, the main buttons aren't much different. These mice both have 6 programmable buttons. So they have the 2 main clicks, as I said, the scroll wheel click, a DPI changing button behind the scroll wheel, which obviously can be reprogrammed to whatever you want, and 2 side buttons. So once again, there's nothing different about the DPI changing buttons. They're a simple, nice, easy to use button that works. The side buttons is another key difference of these mice. I found in my individual review of the Rival 3 that the side buttons, which stick out, they're fairly sharp, were just too hard to press. They took a bit too much force. Yeah, they were easy to find because they stuck out nicely and everything, but they just, still to this day, if I use this mouse, it does bother me. You don't have this problem on the Viper Mini. They're a bit flatter and a bit more flush with the mouse, but they're a lot easier to press, and I really do prefer that. It makes the mouse much more of a pleasure to use. Also, for anyone who's interested, a sound test of the side buttons. So on the Rival 3, here's the front button and the back button. And for the Rival 3, here's the front button and the back button. The scroll wheels is another area which these mice can't be set apart. Personally, I have a better experience with the Rival 3, but there's no particular reason to that, and I can't really put my finger onto why. They both have a rubber feel to them and scroll distinctly between each tick, and there's no issue with them whatsoever. The click is also quite nice. Here's a little sound test of the scroll wheel on the Rival 3 and its click, and similarly on the Viper Mini, the scroll and the click. The final thing to consider for these two mice is the lighting, and obviously that affects performance in no way, shape or form, and therefore won't be a priority for a lot of people. The Viper Mini only has a single RGB zone, whereas the Rival 3 has 3, and that just makes it so much better. You can create all these cool effects rather than just different ways of having a single colour at once. In addition to this, the lights are just so much more vibrant and colourful, and it just looks a lot nicer. So if you just want, a priority for you is making your setup look good, then the Rival 3 is definitely the better of the two. Just to quickly mention, neither bit of software is better in my experience. They are both easy to use, install and all of that. I think it's pretty evident from this video that I think the Razer Viper Mini is the better option of the two. Its lower weight just makes it feel so much more agile and a better performing mouse, and then it's got the little things such as the nicer side buttons, slightly better performing sensor and things like that just make it overall the better mouse of the two. Obviously it is $10 more, so you've got to consider where your budget's at, and that is for everybody personally. The lighting is also better on the Rival 3, it is a better looking mouse, and it is a great mouse overall, don't get me wrong. It's definitely something to consider. If $30 your budget, I think you're doing a great job by buying the Rival 3. However, if you're a palm user, I'd look elsewhere, because neither of these mice are made for palm grip. They're both made for claw or fingertip grip, and if you do use either of them, regardless of your hand size, I'd say the Viper Mini is going to be the better of the two mice if it fits into your budget. So guys, if you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a like and even subscribe to the channel. You can comment down below with any feedback on what I can do better. If you want to look as cool as me or just support the channel, you can check out techify.co.uk/merch. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to check out some of our other videos, and I'll see you guys next time.